Hello. Today we are going to talk about the yellow fever virus. Although neither of us have had any personal experience with yellow fever, or even traveled to one of its more prevalent areas, we thought it would be something new and interesting that we wanted to learn about, and we hope we can teach you something new as well. The yellow fever virus is not only emergent, but it's also going viral. Yellow fever is quite similar to the Zika virus and uses RNA as its genetic material. Typically, the virus spreads through mosquitoes, and the virus thrives in moist and humid regions. The amount of people affected by the yellow fever virus has escalated in numbers recently due to traveling, making it easier for not only people but also the mosquitoes that transmit the disease to enter different populations. This mainly started in the 1600s when the sailing industry began to become more prevalent as mosquitoes could hop on ships and make it to different countries just like the people and goods aboard. Many of these ships were also involved in the slave trade, which is the main cause that brought infected mosquitoes and people to Europe and the Americas, because the disease thrives in the tropical and subtropical areas of both Africa and South America. Yellow fever is an intense hemorrhagic, or relating to blood, bleeding, and blood flow, viral disease, and is an arbovirus, or disease spread by arthropods, of the Faevirus genus. The disease is spread through three specific transmission cycles, which are urban, cephalic, and intermediate. With the urban cycle, the yellow fever is transmitted by non-human primates and mosquito species which are found in jungles. The virus is passed on from monkey to mosquito and then to human when working or visiting the forest canopy. In Africa and other countries with jungles and rainforests, the intermediate cycle exists in these areas where the virus is transmitted from mosquitoes to human, which are either living or working on the jungle borders or near the jungle. Within this cycle, it is also common for the virus to spread from monkey to human or human to human through mosquito bites. Lastly, the urban cycle involves the transmission between humans and mosquitoes. The yellow fever ends up in an urban setting, usually by a human who was infected in the jungle or savanna. This visual shows the three different cycles: intermediate, sylvatic, and urban, in which the disease is transmitted. It also clearly shows how the cycles are connected, and that even though human-to-human contact will not infect someone, a person can infect a mosquito that will then go on to infect more people, adding on to these never-ending cycles. So what happens if you do get infected? The first stages of the disease include common flu-like symptoms. If these persist, a more serious infection can include liver and kidney failure, bleeding, and jaundice. Jaundice is the yellowing of the skin and eyes, which is also where this disease gets its name from. This is caused by a buildup of waste material in the blood, specifically bilirubin. Bilirubin is a yellowed colored waste material that is usually removed by the liver. Therefore, jaundice is also a sign that a person's liver is failing. Bilirubin will eventually leak out of the blood, spreading to the skin, causing the skin and eyes to have a yellowish tint to them. Only 15% of people who get infected will develop more serious symptoms, but of that 15%, about half of them will die. This image gives a visual as to how a person without jaundice looks compared to the same person with jaundice. It also shows that the failing kidneys and gallbladder aren't getting rid of the bilirubin, which is the cause of the yellowing. This shows a real human with jaundice. Just like the skin, the eyes also get a yellowish tint to them. Although you probably haven't seen someone with yellow fever, you probably have seen someone with eyes like this. A lot of time, alcoholics will have the yellowing of the whites of their eyes because the amount of alcohol they consume hinders their liver to perform at an optimal level. Thus, the same thing happens as an excess of bilirubin is stored in the bloodstream, which eventually leaks into other areas of the body, including the skin and the whites of your eyes. During the Spanish-American War, there were 1,000 soldiers killed on the battlefield, while 5,000 died of disease in Cuba. Most of those deaths were due to yellow fever. The U.S. Army created the Yellow Fever Commission. They focused on getting rid of mosquitoes out of Cuba and performed experiments to prove that yellow fever was spread through mosquitoes. The number of infected people declined as mosquitoes were killed and repelled away. Then after World War II, DDT started being used to try and keep the mosquitoes away. The yellow fever virus can be avoided if the proper precautions are taken. The yellow fever vaccine, developed in the 1940s, is the first and primary way to avoid the disease. Also, the vaccine can last up to 10 years. It works by giving the body a dose of a weakened version of the virus. This exposure allows the body to create antibodies for the virus. These antibodies stay in the body, so when the immune system encounters the virus naturally, it is able to fight and get rid of it more quickly before symptoms arise, and the virus becomes more serious. Many countries require people traveling from high-risk areas to be vaccinated before a person enters their country. Since the disease is spread through mosquitoes, avoiding mosquitoes will help in avoiding the disease. Another preventative measure would be staying in a well-screened or air-conditioned area, covering up most of the body with clothes, as well as using an effective insect repeller will also help in avoiding the yellow fever virus.
In the past 30 years, the number of people infected have drastically gone down. This is due to campaigns that push the vaccination of children and adults living in areas that have the ideal climate that produces the virus. The bad thing is that there is currently a shortage of the vaccine. Even in the United States, people may have to drive miles away to get the vaccine if it is needed for travel. In poorer countries that have a greater risk for yellow fever, people have completely lost the ability to get the vaccine. Less people getting vaccinated means more people are beginning to contract the disease again. We can end up with a situation similar to the 1600s when the shipping industry became increasingly popular. In a time with airplanes and a total volume of more people traveling, we can end up with another viral spread of the disease, except this time it would be much faster and harder to stop.